Hey friends, Wayne over here at the Ram Man Inc. Don't forget the ink. Right here on my table, basically what we have is we have a couple of Hemi units. These are for e-bodies that are getting ready to go out. And so here it is, 4/23 of 21. So it's April the 23rd, I guess it's 21. Getting ready to send these out. We do an awful lot of Hemi units. Matter of fact, we are the king of most Mopar brake systems, and for sure the king of Hemis. I'll be quite honest with y'all folks. We do more Hemi units in a month. Here is 4 active orders right here. 4 active. These 2 guys are up here at the top. Robert and Jamie. This is really cool. This is a father and son, 70 Hemi CUDA, and they went all the way. They get one of my NOS Hemi Master cylinders, a fabled 9.1, and actually, so is Jacob. Jacob's got a 71 Hemi CUDA, and he got to 91. Now these folks are spending $2,000 plus, and they's expecting some good shit by all rights. There's more to a Hemi unit than most people know. There is the bracket assembly. It's not a Mickey Mouse piece. Ain't no Mickey Mouse by Bendix. Most people don't even know how the Hemis came about. I'm going to tell you. So, in the fall of '66, when Chrysler Corporate decided at the very last minute, we're going to try to get the Hemi in the B-body ready for January '67. January '66, I'm sorry. So, I ran into some paperwork years ago. Mopar and Bendix got together and basically designed and prototyped the entire Hemi unit in like 90 days. Back then, that is whirlwind. Today, it is whirlwind. You're talking about an automobile manufacturer doing something in 90 days. But that's what it was all about, to get the Hemi in that fucking '66 B-body. So, that's what ended up happening. I get all these people that call me up, and they're doing a Hemi clone or whatever, and the biggest wives' tale is that a Hemi booster is a small booster so that it'll fit. No, the Hemi booster is the biggest booster available at the time. The biggest, most powerful booster at the time. So, where does it come from? Well, it comes from the Imperial. The Imperial was always the flagship of Chrysler. It got the best, the baddest, the newest, the most heavy duty, and that was the test bed. Typically, automobile manufacturers test bed on heavy vehicles, and it funnels down. Heavier vehicles are usually more pricey. Navigators and got more options, got more goodies, and got more shit like that. The Imperial chassis is basically a D200, and all bearings and all outright, it is a D200. So, in '62, when the Imperial got so big, the Imperial's running an 1.1/8" drum brake master cylinder. That's normally about the size of a truck. So, Bendix and Chrysler come up with the tandem diaphragm Bendix booster. There's 2 boosters in there. in 1962, and it got put on the Imperial. Pushing an 1.1 drum brake master cylinder, not a disc brake master cylinder. So they learned something from that. They learned that to run an 1.1 master cylinder, you need a big ass booster to do it. That's what they learned. Then, in 66, when they said, okay, we got to come up with a Hemi unit, here was the train of thought. Number one, it needed to be big. Number two, it needed to be powerful, because they already knew that they were going to run an 1.1 master cylinder. That's what they had chosen. Number three, it needed to have a very large vacuum reserve, size of the can. It needed to have a very large vacuum reserve. I'm going to repeat this for the dummy Hemi guys that ask about power brakes. It had to have a large vacuum reserve because the street Hemis, the first ones, were running a mechanical cam. They were pushing the vacuum envelope to the max. And of course, you need vacuum to run a booster. The early Hemis were running a mechanical cam, and it was pushed to the limit. The other thing is, Chrysler Corporation mandated that all Hemi cars must have power brakes. It was a corporate directive. They didn't give a shit whether it was disc or drum. All Hemi cars had to have power brakes when they left the factory. They were scared to death turning loose a 500 horsepower motor, that's the truth, we all know it, out on the street with no brakes. It scared them to death. So, all Hemi cars left the assembly line with the great big old Hemi power unit. This great big massive thing. All Hemi cars left the assembly line with this shit on them. So when you run into a Hemi car and this is all missing, or the dude tells you, well, his didn't come that way, well, okay. The only way that you could get a Hemi car without this was if you were being sponsored and you were a drag racer at the time and them were special ordered cars. The only way that you could get a Hemi car without this on there is if you were one of them sponsored dudes and Chrysler, Plymouth, or Dodge was sponsoring you. And those were special built cars. So, that's just the truth. So, that is the birth of the Hemi unit. A fantastic piece, developed in 90 days. It is powerful beyond belief. On top of that, the Hemi unit comes on faster than anything else that there is. You got to remember. So that was the first priority. Had to be big and powerful. Second priority is it had to fit. So they had already determined that it needed to be on some type of bracket system. Extremely heavy duty. Not some flimsy ass old bullshit. This has got to be held off the firewall. It's very long and it weighs a lot. It's very long and it weighs a lot. You can't be having no flimsy ass old bullshit. Well, we'll go into a little bit of detail in a minute. God bless you. God bless America, and happy Mopar.